implementation period, we must be able to negotiate and sign our own trade agreements. They also say we must have full regulatory autonomy during that period, meaning we should not be a rule taker from the European Union during that period, given that we won't have any say. Now they claim, and you just heard Peter Bone on the news, they claim to be acting in line with government policy. Well, that may have been government policy a year ago. I'm not so sure that it is today. So I'm asking you tonight, do you think that they're right to make these demands of the Prime Minister? Perhaps you do, perhaps you don't. For example, Tim Farron, the former Liberal Democrat leader, describes the European Research Group and their demands. He describes them as a far-right faction. I think actually in Tim Farron's eyes we're all far right really, but hey, there we are. But all of this comes on a day when we get a leaked government document saying, and by the way, if there is some confusion on this, we are due to leave the European Union on the 29th of March next year. That's when Article 50 expires. There is then going to be a transition period, another couple of years or so on top of that, which Theresa May now calls an implementation period. But a leaked government document today shows that actually the government is considering asking for this transition implementation period for the duration to be determined by how long it will take to prepare and implement the future partnership. Now, what does that mean? Well, so far, they've been pretty vague. In the election, the Prime Minister said it would last for around about 2 years. David Davis said that it would be a maximum of about 27 months. But now, the language of this is as if to sort of say to us, well, it could last for years and years and years. And all of this as we come up to an absolutely crucial summit that takes place in Brussels on the 22nd of March. And the government's absolute priority will be to come away from that summit with the principle of this transition period having been agreed. Already, we're being told that EU migrants that arrive during that transition period probably won't be treated any differently to those that came before. And if you add all of this to where we were in December, when she agreed to 40 billion, she agreed to some continued oversight of the European Court of Justice, I think what you're seeing at every stage is a government making more and more concessions, delaying Brexit, watering down Brexit. So my view is that Jacob Rees-Mogg and the European Research Group are right to say, you know, enough's enough. During that implementation period, we must be able to negotiate and sign our own trade deals. That'll be a very big message to send to the folks here in Washington, D.C. A very big message to send to the Australians who've been in London this week. And frankly, if we don't do it, we won't be able to reap any of the benefits that we should be getting from Brexit. So I think that they're right to make these demands. Do you agree with me that Jacob Rees-Mogg and the European Research Group are right to make these demands of the Prime Minister, that we have to be free to get on with those global negotiations from the end of March next year? Let me know what you think. If you agree with me, call on 0345 6060 973, or perhaps you think, no, we've got no option but to do whatever Monsieur Barnier says. And by the way, he certainly doesn't want us negotiating and signing new trade deals. And in that case, text to 84850, or perhaps there's another message you'd like to have seen in this European Research Group letter going to the Prime Minister. Let me know what those suggestions are. Keep them clean, and do that by using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC. And you can watch me on Facebook and comment on there too. I'm going to go to Bill in Colchester, a new caller to the show. Good evening, Bill.
Yeah, Nigel, it's just, you know, why is it, Nigel, that we're not all of us, you know, sieging Westminster? You know, Cameron come out with this nonsense. He thought that we was all going to hop along like sheep and take us back into his, you know, his scheme of destroying Britain's sovereignty. The people voted out They voted out. They didn't care what the Europeans had to say. They didn't care about all the threats. They didn't care about all the terrible things that would happen to us. We voted out. It was a yes or no, because when these backbenchers started to say they wasn't satisfied with this section of the European Convention, and they wasn't satisfied with certain elements. He said, "I'm getting bored with the whole thing," because he thought he was going to get a landslide. It gave us the opportunity, and we said we don't want it. We want out of it. What they're doing, Nigel, they've got total contempt for us. They've had contempt for the British public for years. They did when they had the MPs' expenses. They thought, who are you to decide what our expenses are? They've lived eye on the hog by ignoring the wishes of the British people, and they just think that we're fools and idiots. We voted out. I don't see there's anything to debate, Nigel. We want out. We went across there. We got ourselves in terrible debt to fight a Second World War. We hadn't finished paying that instalment back until recently. Now they're telling us that
that's true. That's true, Bill. But, our political class were all signed up to the European project, and you're quite right to say the referendum result was a very big shock to them. So are you, I get the feeling you're beginning to get quite angry about this, Bill.
Nigel, they ain't going to... They're using every scheme they can to tell us we can't leave. The idea is soften us up for a second referendum so that they can then say, that's it, that's the end of it, you voted to stay in. It's disgusting what they're doing to us, Nigel. I'm surprised there hasn't been a rebellion in this country. I mean, what is it? Are the British people so used to being browbeaten that they're frightened now? I mean, I think fear against them.
I think for the moment, Bill, I think that leavers are giving the government the benefit of the doubt, but I agree with you in the sense that I think that patience is beginning to wear a little bit thin. And so, Bill, presumably you agree with me that Rees-Mogg and the other 61 backbench Tory MPs are exactly right to say to the Prime Minister that during the transition period we've got to get on with the rest of our lives.
Yeah, there's people, Nigel, I'm sure you're aware, who believe in conspiracies that they're trying to make it so untenable that when Corbyn gets elected, this will all be undone. That's what they're after doing. I mean, that's a conspiracy theory that's going on around the political, sphere at the moment.
If the transition period, Bill, if the transition period lasts much longer than is planned already, and the government today appearing to accept that it could go on for a long time, Chuka Ramuna saying perhaps they want it to be there indefinitely, you could get a Labour Party winning the next election and effectively keeping us part of the single market and the customs union. So there is a great risk, there is a great danger of that. Bill, I get the message. Theresa May, get on with it. Bill has had enough. He's angry. How does Steve in Rickmansworth feel? Good evening, Steve.
Hi there, Nigel. I feel the same as the last guy, very much so, but I've got a solution for all this. If we don't get what we want... You there?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah, if we don't get the 17.5 million of us that voted to leave, and now there'd probably be 18.5 million, most of the people I know have changed their minds. If we don't get what we want, Nigel, it's quite simple. I, for one, will stop paying tax. I won't tax my car. I'll park anywhere I want. I will not uphold law and order. I will throw my litter everywhere, and they can fill the prisons with people like us. We'll bankrupt the country. It's as simple as that. It will be just like the IS in France.
So civil disobedience, Steve.
Yes, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I haven't got a criminal record, and I will get a criminal record. I honestly don't care. I feel this strongly about it. The guy before, and you've always been right, and so's Jacob. But no, that's my view. I will not pay any more tax. I will. I live on a canal boat. I'll probably leave half the locks open and empty the canal. I really won't care about what I do, and that's how strong I think about it. Seriously, Nigel. Honestly,
no, well, no. Listen, this is. I mean, in a way, this is not the sort of thing the British do very often, is it?
Well, you wait and see. If anyone's seen The Day of the Jackal with Edward Fox, a 70s film, that's what we're going to need. We're going to need hitmen to sort these people out, because I tell you now, I'm not going to rest.
Steve, I've got to stop you there. We can't allow the advocacy of hitmen to be aired without being challenged and shot down. But your point about civil disobedience is a very interesting one, because when Margaret Thatcher introduced the poll tax, we saw quite large-scale civil disobedience, and you know what? It ended the poll tax, and it helped to end Thatcher too, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Correct. Absolutely correct. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I've had shotgun licences. I'm not a criminal. I've had a few parking tickets. That's about me. But I feel this strongly about it. And the guy, everybody knows what's going on. It's a conspiracy theory. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's absolutely true. Lord Adonis, Tony Blair, Nick Clegg, etc., Kenneth Clark, etc., 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 etc. They're all trying to keep us in, and the worse it goes for us, the more chance we'll stay in. But they just don't realise a lot of my friends feel exactly the same, Nigel. I'm not joking.
No, Steve, I wrote over a year ago a newspaper article in which I said, do not underestimate the anger of the silent majority in this country if you betray Brexit. So I understand what you're saying. I've just never heard anybody express it in terms as strongly as you just did. Steve, I thank you. Well, some very strong views there, folks, saying that actually, Jacob Rees-Mogg's lot putting pressure on the Prime Minister are actually not going as far as many people so far on this show want. Let's hear from others of you who think actually, we've got to go along with what the European Union says. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC. It's now 7:15.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
Little Mix star finds herself in the centre of a race row because she's wearing dreads. Is that a crime? Some followers are suggesting the picture is offensive to black people. Alicia in Romford.
When you think about dreadlocks, a lot of times it's a Jamaican thing, and when people think of that, it's often with a negative connotation attached to it. So how comes if I wear dreadlocks, I'm looked at negatively, but if this girl from Little Mix does it, it's cool and it's trendy.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Every weekday morning from 7, only on LBC.
At Boots Opticians, we're here to help you discover a stylish new look for less. We've got thousands of frames to choose from, so speak to us and together we'll find the perfect pair for you. In fact, with 2 pairs from £75, why stop at just one? Book in store or at boots.com. Boots, let's feel good. 2 for £75 on Boots £50 glasses as part of our half-price additional pairs offer. Both pairs must be bought for the same customer in the same transaction. Subject to availability. See in store.
Sangeeta used to dread taking meter readings. Tracking Gaz and Lecky meant going into the gloomy depths of the cupboard under the stairs. Last time she emerged with a sore nose, a bruised elbow, and a fuming temper. Fortunately, Sangeeta has just had a smart meter installed, which sends the readings directly to her energy supplier. And an in-home display shows exactly how much energy she's using, so no more trips to the cupboard. Contact your energy supplier today about getting your smart meter, at no extra cost.
The family member who was concerned. The neighbour who felt uneasy. The teacher who was worried. The coach who noticed at practice. And you. It's up to all of us to keep children safe. If you think a child may be at risk, report it to your local council, who can provide the support a child may need. If you think it, report it. Visit gov.uk/tackle child abuse to find out how. And together, we can tackle child abuse.
Nobody likes the unknown, especially when it comes to selling your home. So don't choose an estate agent, choose Property Rescue. They'll simply buy your property direct, which means you could exchange, with money in the bank, in just 48 hours. So, no need to worry about the unknown of selling on the open market. Get that just sold feeling with Property Rescue. Fast forward to peace of mind at propertyrescue.co.uk.
The transfer window may be closed, but at Football Index you can still buy and sell top players for real cash. Football Index is the player trading exchange where you can profit from your football knowledge from as little as £10. Trade up to £1,000. And if you don't love Football Index, get a refund with our 7-day money-back guarantee. Visit gofootballindex.co.uk and become a football trader today. Powered by Opta. Over 18s and new customers only. Deposit required. Other terms apply. Gamble responsibly.
Apparently, there are still some people who say they don't want to apply for an Ocean credit card. That's amazing, because there's a credit limit of up to £1,500. Text so you keep control of your spending, and you can see if you'll be accepted before you apply at checkocean.co.uk without affecting your credit rating. But I know the real reason people say they don't want to apply, because they've already got one. To apply for an Ocean credit card, go to checkocean.co.uk. Intelligent Lending Limited is a credit broker. Capital One is the exclusive lender.
This is LBC, the Nigel Farage Show. Live from Washington, call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
Are 62 Tory MPs right to pressure the Prime Minister and to say, once we've left the European Union at the end of March next year, during any transition or implementation phase, we need to be negotiating and signing trade deals with the rest of the world? And this on a day when we hear that the government may want to extend the transition period for goodness knows how long. Philip says to me by text, so if Labour wins the next election, would we have a transitional deal that is 2 years or open-ended? Well, Philip, the point is, this transition deal, if you believe the Prime Minister, should last for around about 2 years. That takes us into the spring of 2021. There is a general election coming. The end of it, the last date possible is going to be the middle of 2022. So the point is, if transition gets extended, it may well run up until the next general election, and you could see a Labour SNP government saying that we're going to stay part of a customs union or the customs union, and the same with a single market. So there is a very, very great danger that we could well have left the European Union but still be so wrapped up in all the different parts of it without any say and without the advantage of being able to go out and negotiate in the rest of the world. So mistakes for this are, I would suggest, pretty high. Anita says, I'm the same as your caller. I'm so angry. We need protests and marches to let May know that we know exactly what we voted for and she has to respect our vote. Well, Anita, I think that's what Jacob Rees-Mogg and his group would argue that they are trying to do. But to date, they too, even the Brexiteers, have allowed the Prime Minister to make a lot of concessions, not least of which is a £40 billion concession, which I personally could never have supported or voted for. Desmond is calling from Camden. Desmond, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
So, Mrs May's in a pickle, Desmond, isn't she?
Well, my question to you would be, what could you rationally expect her to be doing? If you credit the lady with being sincere, being intelligent, well-informed and sincere when she actually thought Brexit was a bad idea, what do you expect of her now? I mean, it's like having a vegetarian negotiating on behalf of a butcher's shop. Secretly,
good line.
Secretly, she wants everybody to change their mind, and if she thinks that by delaying it, sweetly and politely or any other way, she can get them delayed long enough that people will see a different point of view and will change their mind. That is her sincere hope, I'm sure. I mean, you know the people personally involved. Would you say that she is sincere?
Well, I mean, the one thing, Desmond, that she's totally insincere about is when she attempts to defend the Brexit position of the government, because when Ian Dale asked her on LBC not so long back, if there was a referendum tomorrow, would you vote to leave? She couldn't answer it. So she certainly is not sincere when it comes to Brexit. She has been trying to keep different wings of her party together. Whether she secretly hopes we'll all change our mind or not, I don't know, Desmond. I would suggest that's a very risky game to play. But do you understand, Desmond, some of the previous callers I had before the break, do you understand why there is a growing anger amongst some people out there?
Yeah, I understand. I hear them, but I don't in any way agree with them. The British people are essentially law-abiding in the main, and there's no way that they would want to see such extreme behaviour as was advocated by one previous caller. That's not in our vocabulary.
No, and I was quite shocked to hear it, Desmond, but I do sense a growing anger amongst Brexit voters out there, and a Prime Minister that simply isn't delivering, and a transition period that may well go on to the next election. I would suggest, Desmond, that actually what really needs to happen is that the European Research Group and those within the Tory party in Westminster who sincerely want Brexit to happen, surely they should now get rid of this leader.
Well, what I think needs to happen is that we need a new Prime Minister, somebody, for example, who might have a clinical, almost forensic way of dealing with things, and he would be in alliance or working in partnership with maybe someone else from a different point of view who might have spent 17 years advocating that Britain leaves the EU and has dedicated the last 17 or maybe it's 25 years to seeing that take place. Do you know of anybody like that?
There is a chap I met once, who could fit that category. Desmond, if they wanted me to help them, I'd love to help them. But I'm afraid they take a very snobby attitude towards me.
We need you. Yeah, there's moments in time when you need somebody with a clear voice to say, this is the direction we go forward. There is no one else. I could see an alliance between Jacob Rees-Mogg and yourself as being a very, very successful, attractive prospect for the nation at this moment.
Well, let's see where we go, Desmond. I thank you for your call. David says, Nigel, once we're in a transition period, we will never be able to leave the EU. They will make it impossible for us. We won't be able to sign global trade deals during that period. We'll be left in complete limbo, and Barnier and his crew know it. Yes, David, Barnier and his crew do know it. They really feel now they've got this country by the short and curlies because we have got a Prime Minister that is weak and gives in to every single one of their demands. And that's why 62 backbenchers today are saying to her, toughen up. But I very much doubt she will. I just wonder whether they're going to toughen up and realise that under this Prime Minister, we're not going to get the Brexit that people voted for. I wonder what Alex in Kinross, a new caller to the show, makes of that. Good evening, Alex.
Hi, Nigel. It's a pleasure to speak to you. I think I've got 2 points actually to make. The first one is that I agree with the European Research Group. I actually don't think they're going far enough, but I think they're playing an interesting game because, your point about getting rid of the Prime Minister. If we do get rid of the Prime Minister, then she may fall. The government, the Tory government might fall. It might force another election, and your comment about a Labour SNP administration fills me with absolute dread, and we would never get.
Well, Alex, you've just given me the argument that my Conservative friends give me for keeping her as Prime Minister. Nigel, if she's not there, we may not get Brexit at all because the government will fall and there'll be an election. But when Gordon Brown became Prime Minister from Tony Blair, there wasn't an election. When Theresa May took over from David Cameron, there wasn't an election. Changing leader doesn't mean we have to have a general election, does it?
It doesn't, but I think the Remain press or the establishment press that we've got at the moment will continue to niggle and force and talk and debate and force the issue. And the only reason why Theresa May stupidly called the last election was because the press went on about how she didn't have a popular mandate because she was obviously installed afterwards. So I would be concerned about the establishment and the establishment press, who obviously are against Brexit, who are against the people, and who are against the majority of the UK who want to leave the EU, and I would fear that.
All right. Well, Alex, let me ask you then, what do you think that the Rees-Moggs and the Peter Bones and the Ian Duncan Smiths and those who are, genuinely and sincerely for Brexit, what do you think their next move should be?
Personally, I would prefer to go to WTO rules. The question I actually have for you, the second point I would like to make is that
go on.
It seems exceptionally one-sided. This whole argument seems to be all about what Britain is going to lose if we go to WTO rules. But if we buy more from the European Union, which they buy from us, will we not get more tax from them because we are obviously buying more from them? So therefore, surely the trade or the WTO trade tariffs that we apply will equally apply to what we buy from the European Union. So therefore, that's going to be more difficult to them, is it not? So therefore,
yes, no, Alex. Alex, you're right, and there was a report out yesterday, Economists for Brexit, a handful of very well-known, highly respected economists saying, actually, by leaving the European Union, by putting in place appropriate free trade deals with other parts of the UK, within 10 to 15 years, the UK economy could be 4% of GDP better off. The government targets, of course, telling us we could be 8%, or the Treasury figures telling us we could be 8% worse off. Their models had made no allowance for the fact that we would change our relationship with the rest of the world. So actually, Alex, there are some powerful arguments that need to get made for how outside of this union the country can do better. The question is, under this Prime Minister, will we ever hear anything as positive as that? I don't know. Alex from Kinross, I thank you for your call. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC, live from Washington, D.C. It's 7:30, and time for the news with Thomas Watts.
Police forces could face fresh legal action over negligence following a landmark legal ruling. The Supreme Courts upheld a High Court ruling that Scotland Yard failed 2 victims of the former London black cab driver John Warboys. Downing Street insists there will be a fixed end date to the Brexit transition period. It's after a leaked Whitehall paper suggested the interim could be open-ended to accommodate negotiations. Human rights observers say nearly 300 people, including dozens of children, have been killed in a rebel-held area of Syria since Sunday. Civilians in eastern Ghouta, a suburb of Damascus, have faced the deadliest bombardment there in 3 years. LBC weather, clear and cold tonight with widespread frost, windy overnight in Scotland, a low of -2.
LBC Travel. King Street in Hammersmith is closed from Queen Caroline Street for repairs to a couple of burst water mains. This is causing queues all around the Gyratory. And Manor Park Road in Harlesden is slow approaching the temporary lights at Crown Hill Road. The A1 is slow heading into town from Boreham Wood to Stirling Corner. That's because the slip road remains closed southbound at the Boreham Wood junction for repairs. On the trains, London Overground has severe delays from New Cross Gate to West Croydon and to Crystal Palace. That's because of a faulty track earlier. LBC Travel, I'm Katie Tyler.
This is LBC.
At Motorpoint, we know life is full of different journeys. Short ones, long ones, and everything in between ones. So wherever life takes you, we'll help you get there. Our 7,000 low-mileage used cars are all under 3 years old. And with an average saving of £8,500 off the new list price, there's no need to haggle. And you can drive away the same day, even if you're part exchanging. There's a Motorpoint car for every journey. Visit Motorpoint Chingford or motorpoint.co.uk today.
Welcome to QuickBooks. Whatever your trade or craft, QuickBooks helps you manage your small business finances so you can focus on growing your business. Get paid faster by sending quotes and invoices on the move. Snap and sort receipts from suppliers in a few taps. And get a clear picture of how much profit you've made, job by job, in an instant. Visit quickbooks.co.uk today and get up to 50% off for your first 6 months. QuickBooks. Your accounts done. Full terms apply. Visit quickbooks.co.uk for more information.
Do you have a pension? Maybe you've got more than one. How do you know if they're in the right pension funds, making as much money as possible for your retirement? Answer is, you probably don't. At The Pension Works, our fully qualified independent financial advisors could add instant value to your retirement fund. Simply text the word YES to 83222 for your free Pension Works health check. That's YES to 83222 today. Your pensions, working harder with The Pension Works.
At Boots Opticians, we're here to help you discover a stylish new look for less. We've got thousands of frames to choose from, so speak to us and together we'll find the perfect pair for you. In fact, with 2 pairs from £75, why stop at just one? Book in store or at boots.com. Boots, let's feel good. 2 for £75 on Boots £50 glasses as part of our half-price additional pairs offer. Both pairs must be bought for the same customer in the same transaction, subject to availability. See in store.
Vision Consulting Chartered Accountants have seen astonishing growth over the years. So now, their ever-expanding client base means they're looking for remarkable people to join the Vision Consulting team in all areas of the business. In particular, they have immediate start vacancies for senior tax directors and payroll clerks. But they'd love to hear from anyone with a proven track record in accountancy. For a bright new future, visit visionconsulting.co.uk and apply today.
Here are some things you can afford to miss at work. Keyboard warriors. Meaningless jargon.
Let's just circle back and align.
That thing that's going round. Ugh. But you can't afford to miss calls to your small business because missed calls cost you money. eReceptionist manages and diverts your calls. Plus, you can dial out from your eReceptionist number on your mobile. Sign up for a free 30-day trial at ereceptionist.co.uk. T's and C's apply. See website for details.
This is LBC, the Nigel Farage Show. Live from Washington, call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
Tory backbenchers, not exactly an open rebellion, but 62 of them saying to the Prime Minister, this implementation period, transition period, must not stop us getting on, making our own trade deals with the rest of the world, and we must not go on taking European rules, new rules, during that period, because that would make us a vassal state. So, yeah, it's getting close to rebellion. It's not quite there yet. And a story that most of you would have seen, but some won't perhaps, is that nearly 600 Kentucky Fried Chickens out of 900 outlets over the last couple of days have been closed across the country because the new delivery contract has all gone wrong. And some of those that are open now have got limited menus or they've cut their opening hours. And this has sparked panic amongst bargain bucket buyers and fried chicken fans. And East London, police have reported that people are ringing in. They're calling the police to say Kentucky Fried Chicken haven't got any chicken. And I just wonder what's become of the country if we're so reliant on takeaway fried Kentucky chicken or whatever other substitute it is that we think we should ring the police. Something I think maybe, just maybe, something has gone wrong with our national diet. Well, I tell you what, there's no shortage of chicken in KFCs here in Washington, D.C. The president, who is a KFC fan, would never, ever allow it. It couldn't happen. But back to our debate tonight. Are these backbenchers right to say to Theresa May, start getting tougher, leave our hands free to negotiate with the rest of the world during the transition period? I'm going to ask Evan in Slough that very question. Good evening.
Hi, Nigel. I just want to say I do agree with the last caller about violence not being, an answer to anything. We were pretty much split on the referendum, 50-50. So, yes. Either half suggesting violence as a solution is just not, I think, a good idea. And what does concern me is that if we do actually enter, we have a hard Brexit, that if we suddenly find the economy begins to really, really struggle and people start to lose their jobs, we could find that there is a large growing amount of people that getting extremely angry about leaving when there was when it was 50-50 split, and us having a hard Brexit, which was never agreed. And then it could, there's nobody who's really accountable for it. If we suddenly leave.
Evan, let's just get one thing very clear. I did not support the use of violence during that phone call or anything like it. I have been subjected to violence used against me repeatedly. I'm not a fan of it. I lived through it and got on with it.
So many of your callers keep saying, "Oh, I'm so angry. I'm so very angry."
Yeah. Evan,
every time.
Evan, betrayal makes people angry, and there is an increasing feeling. No. Nobody. Evan, I think you're missing the point. People who voted leave are beginning to feel that our political class in Westminster will betray what they voted for, and they're getting very angry.
We voted for leaving the EU, not a hard Brexit.
Evan, at no point in that referendum were the terms hard and soft Brexit used. Do you know why? Because and do you know why?
Leaving the EU.
Because every major figure on both the Remain and the Leave side in that referendum said a vote to leave means leaving the single market, means leaving the customs union.
That's not true.
It could not have been clearer, Evan.
We voted simply on the ballot paper to leave the EU. Any extrapolations was purely an extrapolation. So if half the country find out that we get a hard Brexit when all they did was vote to leave the EU, then you could get a lot of very unhappy people after we leave. And then where does that leave us? What can we do? If we've got a very, very, disunited country, we have a hard Brexit, where does that leave us?
But nobody who voted Remain has any right to feel betrayed at this moment in time. In fact, some of them, I think, are feeling pretty chipper.
Well,
at the fact we're watering it down every month that goes by.
We essentially, the people who voted to Remain said at the time that if we leave, all we're doing is taking our seat away and nothing else. And that's seemingly where we're going. So we're even more angry because so many people have lied and nobody seems to be accountable for those lies.
Evan, as to what will happen to the economy, I mean, if we go to WTO rules, who's to say in 6 months or 2 years where we will be? My own view is with the right leadership, with the right vision, we'd be better off, certainly not worse off. But voters can get angry because their economic circumstances go up or go down. But they're unlikely, I would have thought, to move towards violence. Where you're getting people suggesting they might go out and break the law is because they feel betrayed. And Evan, voting to leave the European Union was clear, wasn't it? It was voting to leave. And the feeling is...
to leave the European Union, but not the single market. And that's where a lot of people...
Yeah, no, Evan, I'm sorry. This is really not right, is it? When every single leading player said, if you vote to leave, you leave the single market. And whether that was Boris Johnson or Michael Gove or Kate Hoey or whoever it was on my side of the argument, or whether it was David Cameron, or whether it was Nick Clegg, or anybody else on the other side. We all knew that if we voted, we were going to leave the single market.
Ballot paper said. That's not what we voted for, as you well know. You can't go ahead and just extrapolate what you like. It's 50-50. We risk putting the country in a very...
As Jeremy Corbyn said. Evan, as Jeremy Corbyn himself said on Andrew Marr during the referendum, if we stayed in the single market, that would be rather like staying in the European Union. He was right then. Sadly, he's softened his position since. Evan, I understand your passion. I understand you don't like the result, but I'm interested. In the fact that somehow there are still people out there that think that we can stay in the single market, and that's okay. That somehow is consistent with the referendum result. It really isn't to me. John says, Nigel, the EU can't give us a good deal. It would set a precedent, and half a dozen other countries would be queuing up to leave to get the same deal. John, you're absolutely right. A lot of other countries in Europe would much rather have less political union and more freedom of their own. Simply, what most of them want is a free trade deal. Sarah is calling from Slough. She's a new caller to the show. Good evening, Sarah.
Good evening, Nigel. I just had to ring tonight. I'm so upset to hear about the leaked document, and I agree with most of your callers. I feel... Obviously, I'd never break the law. I'm a law-abiding citizen, but I feel like we're not being heard. And if it wasn't for you and Rees-Mogg speaks for me really clearly, and I agree with everything he says. I didn't actually vote to leave, by the way, in terms of the referendum. Right. I was on the fence, and I'm ashamed to say that. I couldn't decide because I was worried about the trade. The loss of trade, but I really wanted us to get our own laws back. And I felt like they were a bit like an ivory tower in Brussels. They just weren't in touch with people on the ground anymore.
So did you vote at all, Sarah?
No, but I did. It did sway my view in the election. I voted Tory because I felt they were stronger about Brexit, because by then I definitely want to leave. I am so... Their behaviour through the negotiations, I felt like they'd been oppressive, bullying. It just, I just feel like, and I'm really disappointed in Theresa May, and I've tried to stick up with her for a long time, but she's just giving all our power away. I just feel like she is caving.
So she needs... Really... So do you want to see the Prime Minister getting a bit tougher?
Yeah, I totally am behind Rees-Mogg. Every time he speaks for me. I want us to get our laws back. I think it was very clear. I definitely can't see how we can stay in the customs union and leave the EU. I don't know why people have made something of that. I've worked in imports and exports for years. I understand the WTO rules. There's no problem with the WTO rules. Do you know what I mean? I think everyone's panicking. My understanding is that our trade with the EU has dropped and it's continuing to drop. And I just feel like, why is everyone panicking about WTO rules?
I think the real thing, Sarah, is that our trade with the rest of the world increases a little bit every single year that goes by. And every single year that goes by, because of the changes that are taking place in our world, the EU becomes a less and less important marketplace. You know, when we joined the European club, they were about 30% of the global economy. They're now between 15 and 20% of the global economy, and in 10 years' time, they'll be less than 10%. So it's pretty clear to me, Sarah, that the future is global, and that we've got to be free and out there and negotiating our own deals. But I, like you, Sarah, worry whether the Prime Minister has got the vision, the guts, the strength and the courage to actually do it. Maybe the letter from 62 backbench Tory MPs will give her the spine to do what's necessary. But don't, folks, hold your breath. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show exclusively on LBC. I'm here in Washington, D.C., and my time back at home is 7:45.
Coming up at 8 on LBC, Clive Bull.
With industry leaders saying the government is failing, what more can be done to encourage people to become an apprentice?
Clive Bull on LBC.
Do you have a pension? Maybe you've got more than one. How do you know if they're in the right pension funds, making as much money as possible for your retirement? Answer is, you probably don't. At The Pension Works, our fully qualified independent financial advisors could add instant value to your retirement fund. Simply text the word YES to 83222 for your free Pension Works health check. That's YES to 83222 today. Your pensions, working harder with The Pension Works.
Saturday, February 24th, see 90 minutes of top London football for just £5. Charlton Athletic and Shrewsbury Town both battling for promotion, and any seat for any age is just £5 as part of the Football for a Fiver promotion. To get your tickets, just go to cafc.co.uk/tickets.
An amazing kitchen, an amazing bathroom, an amazing hallway. At Amazing Tiles, our range of porcelain, ceramic and bespoke tiles can make any home amazing. Right now, buy 5 metres or more of plain tiles and get a third off the retail price. Visit our showroom and warehouse at Park Royal Road, London, or call 0208 83 84 900. Make your home amazing at amazingtiles.com.
The best place for sleepyheads is in their bridge bedding bed.
At Bridge Bedding, we have hundreds of beds and mattresses in stock from the biggest brands in the UK. We'll beat any price on a like-for-like basis and we'll deliver for free. So before you buy your next new bed, visit a Bridge Bedding Centre, Rectory Groveley-on-Sea, Upminster Road, Hornchurch, or online at bridgebedding.com.
The best place for sleepyheads is in their bridge bedding bed.
Crikey, the boiler's gone again. Cold showers. Oh, I'll have to get someone round. And tidy up. And get better biscuits. I've only got malted milk. I can't have no shower. I've got Zumba on Wednesday. Relax. Relax. It's Trust a Trader. Bloomin' lovely tradespeople who do the job right. You pop in your postcode and find great tradespeople right on your doorstep. Oh, he's here. Get the party rings out. Visit trustatrader.com.
PlusNet people can't help but help. Take Dave here. He's a cheery chap. He's helping Mrs H switch to a super-fast fibre package.
You're very welcome, Mrs Henderson.
Maggie, she's setting up someone online with a SIM-only mobile plan. And Chris...
I find drying my hair upside down adds extra volume.
Well, he seems to be handing out good advice too. At PlusNet, people will go out of their way to help you. It's probably why their customers voted that they're more satisfied than those of Sky, Virgin and TalkTalk. PlusNet will do you proud.
This is LBC, the Nigel Farage Show. Live from Washington, call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
Is Theresa May betraying Brexit? Some of you seem to think she is, and you're getting really quite angry about it. Jacob Rees-Mogg and his 61 other backbenchers are being politer than that, but they are saying that this period that'll begin next March, this implementation period, as the Prime Minister calls it, transition, as they call it in Brussels, we must be free, not just to take European rules and to get out and make our own trade deals in the world. But before we go to that, just have a little listen today to a pretty fiery exchange that took place at Prime Minister's Questions between Theresa May and the Leader of the Opposition, and Jeremy Corbyn, unusually, going on the Brexit issue.
Well, the Foreign Secretary recently made a speech about Brexit, and he found time to mention carrots, spam, V-signs, stag parties and a plague of boils. Not one mention of Northern Ireland in his speech. Mr. Speaker, we're halfway through the 6 speeches we were told would set out the government's negotiating position. So far, all we've had is waffle and empty rhetoric. Businesses need to know. People want to know. Even her backbenchers are demanding to know. But it isn't clear from today's exchanges. This government isn't on the road to Brexit, Mr. Speaker. It's on the road to nowhere.
Prime Minister! He said that we have not set out any detail. Can I suggest to him that he needs to think very carefully about the security partnership that we want with the European Union when we have left? I set out in my speech in Munich last week exactly what we want that security partnership to cover, because we believe in ensuring that we are maintaining the security and safety of people here in the UK, but also of people in Europe. And we are unconditionally committed to the safety and security of Europe. But can I congratulate the Right Honourable Gentleman, because normally he stands up every week and asks me to sign a blank cheque. And I know he likes cheques, but really, that is terribly...
Well, whoever wrote that for her, that was quite funny, wasn't it? And of course, nothing more from Jeremy Corbyn today on whether he did or did not have meetings with that Czechoslovakian agent back in the 1980s. But some reports saying that the Stasi have no files on Jeremy Corbyn from that period. It will all, of course, become clear. Back to our subject, I get an anonymous text here. Nigel, there is a silent majority, and there is an even more silent majority. Your rich friends have disenfranchised the middle class. Wait for the backlash. But whoever sent that, I thought it was the working class voters that caused Brexit, not the rich people. I'm confused. I'm going to go to Nick in Vancouver. We've spoken before. Nick, you've heard a few people tonight on the show getting pretty angry, feeling that May is not delivering Brexit. Is that fair of them to feel that way?
I feel... I don't think anyone's going to get the Brexit they want, because I don't think it's possible. I think compromises will have to be made one way or the other. And, you know, your hard Brexiteers want a hard Brexit, but they don't want to pay the economic cost of that. And there needs to be an economic cost to a hard Brexit. It has to be very painful, or it won't work. It won't change the British economy. If there isn't an almighty hit, and if Britain isn't given a huge economic boot up the backside to say, you know what, you're no longer a service economy, you now have to become a manufacturing economy like the rest of the world, then British companies are not going to adjust, and Britain will slowly and sadly decline, as it has been for 100 years now. Let's be honest. Britain
well, I have to say, Nick,
19th century.
I was very depressed yesterday to hear David Davis say that Britain won't change as a result of Brexit. And I thought the whole point of Brexit was that those that voted for it wanted Britain to change, didn't they?
Well, I mean, I live in a country where British products do not compete at all with German products on the same level playing field. We have about 300 German cars in Canada to every one British car, and the only British cars you see here really are owned by BMW anyway, so they're really German, they're just made in Britain. Britain is not a manufacturing economy, and that is the name of the game outside of the EU. And Britain, in order to regain it, I mean, like I said, I'm a Remainer just because I think this is a bit pointless.
Nick, we are still the 8th or 9th, I forget which now, biggest manufacturer in the world. So we're not irrelevant when it comes to manufacturing. But clearly we're not Germany. That is absolutely true. And, you know, you talk about the cars. You talk about the cars, but we're actually, hang on, let's finish this point 1 second, Nick. We are actually, you know, making more cars in the United Kingdom than we've ever done at any point in our history. And the fact they're overseas investors owning the companies, that's not necessarily a bad thing, Nick, is it?
Do you believe that Honda and Toyota and Nissan set up shop in Britain for the British market, or did they set up shop for the European market?
Oh, both, of course, is the answer to that. But actually,
that they will necessarily.
But actually, Nick,
afterwards, but they're there because of the EU and the open borders. They wouldn't.
Well, Nick,
I mean,
we sell more cars.
I remember Vauxhall in the 1970s.
Yeah.
They were appalling products. And had we not joined the EU and got that investment from Europe and Japan, there would be no motor industry in England.
But Nick, here is the way things are changing. So 3 years ago, for the first time ever, we sold more cars made in Britain outside the European Union than we sold to countries within the European Union. And that is part of the big change that's going on. And actually, when it comes to Nissan and people like that, you know, we were told they'd all leave if we didn't join the euro. We were told by many of those big firms we had to sign up to the exchange rate mechanism. So you know, none of us can predict accurately what the future is. I'm not pretending Brexit is an easy thing to do. But wouldn't it, Nick, and you view this from a long way away, surely hasn't the Prime Minister got to be a bit clearer with all of us what direction she really wants to take?
I think the Prime Minister, and to be honest, I think everybody in the country needs to start being, I think everybody in the country needs to stop fighting the referendum, because that's what's happening. You guys are all still arguing about the referendum. The referendum's over and done with. You guys voted to leave the EU. It's going to be very, very painful, but presumably worth it for those that voted for it. And that is what the Prime Minister needs. She needs the assent of Brexit voters to say, yes, we are prepared to lose our jobs, to take that 8% hit.
Or to be richer, or to be richer, Nick.
Retool our economy into a manufacturing economy,
or to be richer.
Start selling things again.
Or to be richer, yeah?
But it will take decades.
Yeah, well, there you are.
Naturally.
Well, not according to these leading economists. Nick, I thank you for your call. This economic debate fascinates me. You know, I'm delighted this leak has come out. It exposes the fallacy of your position. I hope with all my heart the Tory party implode. We get a Corbyn-Sturgeon alliance that puts an end to your economically flawed project. And it amazes me. You're the same people, aren't you? You all thought ERM was good. You all thought the euro was good. You all thought you all still believe the European single market's good. And the thought that we're going to put someone like McDonnell in charge of our economy, how that somehow is economically wise, I do not know. The last caller I'm going to take this evening is Wayne. He's a new caller to the show, and he's from Stansted. Good evening, Wayne.
Good evening, Nigel. Nice to speak to you. I totally agree with a lot of your views and many of your callers that you've had this evening. This sort of Tory backbench revolt that's going on, I think it's about 2 years too late. And I honestly don't believe that there's anyone in the Tory party who have got the nerve to take on the state we're in at the moment, because they know it's going to be political suicide. Because Theresa May has made such a mess of this, that I honestly don't believe any one of them would like to take it on.
Well, you know what? If somebody in politics gets offered the chance to be the Prime Minister, however tough the circumstances are, Wayne, I think there'll be quite a long queue of people who actually would do it. But no, we are in a mess with it. I mean, were you a Leave voter, Wayne?
I'm most definitely a Leave voter. I mean, I believe Theresa May, you know, she's totally out of her depth. You know, she could return to running the, you know, Henley-on-Thames WI, because that's her limit. She is not a statesperson. And it's funny that she mentioned Munich in her speech today. Didn't Neville Chamberlain come back and was waving something from Munich? And he did. One of the worst statesmen of ever in this country.
Wayne, I thank you, and Wayne, they're frustrated too. Well, look, folks, you've been listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. I'm back tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock. I'll be at CPAC, the big Conservative conference that takes place every year here in DC. Last year I was there, and I had to stop broadcasting mid-show as the Alsatians swept through the area to clear it to allow Vice President Mike Pence to come in. So maybe we'll have an exciting show again tomorrow from CPAC. Coming up at 10 o'clock tonight, it's Ian Collins, but up next, it's Clive Bull.
Nigel, thank you. Coming up at 9, it's the Legal Hour, and here to answer your legal questions is Barrister Daniel